Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you this special bulletin. When it comes to independent content creation, journalism, reviews, articles, anything you want to do to put yourself out there, the currency of the times is your integrity. Mostly because the mainstream or lamestream journalists out there, or so-called journalists, the bought and paid for shills, the paid advertising, they lose credibility. You lose faith in these so-called rags because of, well, they come across as having a bit of an agenda, attacking the fans, getting things wrong, clickbait titles of their articles. So, as an independent creator, yeah, I think you should be a little bit more honest, a little bit more careful with what you put out there, which leads us to this thing that I caught on Twitter in passing, didn't look for it, that just had me floored. Now, I may have given away the punchline here, but I saw this as I was perusing the interwebs, perusing Twitter, bored out of my mind, doom scrolling. Good old Fandom Pulse. I have my opinions, and they just got worse. Billboard, this little article right here in the comics section, Billboard removes Eric July's Glorious Death from charts, despite meeting all the requirements. And I was absolutely floored because, well, first of all, I hadn't heard him or Dan Vasc or anybody talking about it. I figured that would have been front and center on my timeline, especially after watching Rip and the Silverback just, 24 hours ago? And how they were talking and celebrating and discussing. Now, there were some issues with sales and how things were recorded, or rather, weren't recorded, but, nothing like what this title suggested. I perused some of it. Now, of course, you got the link, and good old Dan Vasc, one of the as co-owners of the song, had something to say about it. Says co-owner of the song here, Dan says, I haven't read the article. Well, there's a reason for that. We'll get to that in a moment. But based on the title alone, this is somewhat misleading. Dan is being very generous here on the misleading part. It's we'll get to that. The track is still there at number 7 in the Hard Rock Digital Song Sales Chart. So, kind of makes me wondering, why would you say they removed it? What else does Dan have to say? Our placement was hindered by reporting issues with our direct-to-customer sales, but we're there anyway. Cheers. It's good to see that Dan Vasc clears things up, except you still have people calling it repulsive. They must have been cheating somehow. Let's see, what else? They were probably like, the same 14 IP addresses downloaded the song 3,200 times, but sorry, no, because, well, people hate Eric July because I don't know. Maybe they're the racists and not us. The game is rigged, always has been. Oh, someone has an opinion on JDA, but hey, let's not get off on too many tangents. And I was curious, and I went, maybe, just maybe, because we've all seen the clickbait titles. We've all seen the clickbaity articles that say one thing in the title or change the title, and go into further explanation in the article. So, against my better judgment, I decided to go over to Fandom Pulse. I've given up on them because I have my opinions on their integrity, their writing style, and that is my opinion. If you wish to follow them, that's fine with you. But after what I saw here, how can you have any faith in, well, what they consider integrity? Right over here, July 3rd, Billboard removes Eric July's Glorious Death from film charts. Anyway, and would you look at that? You can't read the article unless you're a member. They hide behind a paywall. Well, let's see what they have to say in this wonderful little paragraph. Eric July, founder of the comic universe Rippaverse. Well, he was a singer long before that, and creator of the hit single, along with Dan Vasc, Glorious Death, has exposed, or maybe Dan just sang the song. Either way, it's fantastic. It's cool, actually. I like the song. Has exposed how Billboard magazine removed his songs. He did nothing of the sort. And Billboard did nothing of the sort. Removed his song from their charts despite meeting all the requirements for inclusion. This sentence right here is 100% fabrication. It is a lie. It is not a spin. It's not stretching. It's not reaching. It's an absolute 100% lie. And that's where I have a problem. If you want to twist things around, spin it till we spin here, spin there, like a little dreidel, whatever you want, that's going to come across wrong. Or stretch to get to your conclusion, that's one thing. I can, I guess, dissect it, read between the lines and see what you're trying to say. This is an absolute fabrication. So far from the truth, it's not even ridiculous. It's on opposite ends of the poles, north and south. This latest example of industry gatekeeping, which isn't happening, demonstrates how established media institutions continue to suppress independent creators, which no one actually is doing that, who don't conform to their political preferences. So, what I remember, here's what I remember what happened from Ripper and the Silverback, is the direct-to-customer link that Eric was using on their website. They tried to go through Billboard, but Billboard wasn't taking any more signups, so they used someone, Eric used someone suggested by them that was affiliated with Billboard for their sales. I can't remember what it was called, but they had a ton of sales through it. And then when it came around, they found out that none of those sales, none of those direct-to-customer, non-Amazon or non-Spotify, non-Amazon sales, they were not counted. And the site went to the point realizing they screwed up so bad that they refunded the startup fees, the registration fees, the activation fees to Eric July and his company and his band and everyone involved. So that, in a roundabout way, I paraphrase completely horribly, but paraphrase nonetheless. That is what actually happened. This removed his song from their charts. No, you can't. No, you didn't. As you can see, Dan Vasc, still there at number 7. I think someone else down here mentioned it as well. People are using this as an opportunity to attack Eric, and I'm using this as an opportunity to, well, shed some light on, this is beyond clickbait. This is beyond an annoyance. This is an absolute lie. For what reason, I have no idea. And you can't fact check them. You can't see what the rest of our article has to say. And you cannot come at me with the defense of, well, maybe they clarified in the rest of the article. Then why are you hiding it behind a paywall? Why are you hiding it behind a subscription fee? So that only your, I'll use the word fans, your supporters, they're the only ones that can read it, instead of people that, have no problem clapping back and fact-checking your nonsense at Fandom Pulse. I have issues, and I've had issues in the past with some of the writers over there. Some of them have gotten worse. Some of them have gotten better. Some of them, well, one in particular left Fandom Pulse, parted ways with Jean Delarose, and I haven't seen him in a while. Might have to check up on him. When you sit there and lie, and it's proven to be a lie by someone directly involved with the sales, with the song itself, where is your integrity? Where is your rebuttal? Where is your retraction for nonsense like this? What is the purpose? That's really my main question. What is the purpose of lying like this about Billboard, about the mainstream? What are you trying to accomplish? Because to me, what this looks like to me, the only thing you're accomplishing is, well, ruining your already useless reputation. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Leave a like, leave a dislike. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate for it. Anyway, my opinions, ladies and gentlemen. I got no problem talking about it. Hope to see you in the next one.